I interview successful industry professionals and share my personal journey to becoming a travel agent. The show is for aspiring travel agents and travel professionals at every level. My mission is to uncover the universal keys to thrive in this business. Join me as I take a closer look into the life of a travel agent. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Travel Agent Podcast. Today, we have such an amazing guest. His story is amazing, but I'm going to let you tell them about you. So it's over to you.
Thanks, Lynn. So my name's Tom Carpenter, and I am one of the founders and owners of Huckleberry Travel. Started the business about 3 years ago with my husband, David, and in just 3 years, we've grown pretty quickly. And we've got a sub agent out on the West Coast. We're based in Brooklyn, New York, and really excited to be here and to chat with you.
I am so excited to have you on. So, as I ask all of my guests, how did you get started?
Yeah, so I have a background. I'm stuttering here. I have a background as a lawyer. I was a union side labor lawyer in the entertainment industry mostly for about 25 years, more than that actually. And I was starting to feel kind of the burnout of practicing law and helping people solve problems that they have at work. And my husband and I were talking about the fact that we're friends with a lot of small business owners in our neighborhood, people who own bars, restaurants, real estate agents, insurance agents, things like that. And we were thinking about, what could we do, just kind of as a side hustle, something entrepreneurial that connected with things that we were really passionate about. And we both really love travel. We've been to every continent together, including Antarctica, and so we'd actually gotten lots of inquiries from friends about, oh, when you did that South Africa safari, how did you do it? Where'd you go? Who'd you plan it with? And so we started thinking that maybe it would be worthwhile for us to kind of investigate what it would take to start a travel business. And so we started doing some research, and we found a really great host agency and learned kind of about the host agency model, which seemed like it would be a really easy way. There was a low bar to entry, but we would have the support to really build a business that was kind of build it the way we wanted to build it. And we found a host agency that would support that. And so we started to put together a website, started the training program through our host agency, which is Uniglobe Travel Center. Really passionate about Uniglobe. They've been fantastic to us. And about 3 years ago, we did our soft launch on Facebook. And within 2 hours, we had our first clients. And it was a family of 4 that wanted to go to the Galapagos. And it was a commission check with a comma. And we were off to the races, and we've been busy ever since. And so earlier this year, I quit my quote unquote stupid day job, as I used to call it, and I'm now working on the travel business full time. So that's me.
That is such an amazing story. Like, I love how people get into it, because all of our stories are different, but it all like boils down to like, just, you have to have a passion for travel to want to be in this business, because it's
for sure. Yeah.
It's not easy. And earlier we were talking, you said you're on your 3rd year. I was like, that's the sweet spot. That's what I found is the 3rd year is the sweet spot. So congratulations for quitting your stupid J job.
I have to say, like, the thing that I find most gratifying about this, I mean, this has been a big year. So I stopped working at my job in March, and just my stress level plummeted. And that's not to say that, being a travel advisor isn't stressful, because it definitely can be. But, there's something about working for yourself and being your own boss and being accountable to your business and to your business partner that's different from being an employee and being accountable to somebody else. And so I really, I was never the kind of person who could quit a job without having another job lined up. And my last job was so stressful that suddenly I've developed a new capacity, and I've just been really, really happy with the change. So
it's funny how things change. We we start out one way and something magical happens, and all of a sudden we can quit jobs that
Right.
we thought we never could. I'm
Yeah,
right there with
exactly.
you.
Exactly, for sure.
So, since you've been in it the last 3 years, what is something that you wish you would have known when you first started?
Wow. I mean, so I think anybody who gets into the industry, it's not very long into your business that you realize that you don't know what you don't know, and there's so many things that we learned just in the first few months about how the industry works. The fact that I think we had the same question that a lot of people have when they talk to us about booking travel for them. Our clients come to us, new clients come to us, and they've got a trip that's kind of exotic. We don't do a lot of cruises. Maybe 30% of our business is cruises. We don't do a lot of all-inclusive resorts, and I know that's the bread and butter for a lot of travel advisors. But for us, most of our clients are looking for premium or luxury FIT travel, and it's usually because they want to do something really exquisite and unique and authentic and immersive and destination focused, and they're not quite sure how to go about it because they're nervous about traveling someplace where they don't know the language or the culture. And so those are the clients who come to us. And when they come to us, they usually say the thing that everybody says, which is, we didn't even know travel advisors still exist or travel agents still existed. And when we say to them, well, yeah, in this day and age, sure, you can book travel on the internet, but that's not what we're about. Our mission is to really take care of our clients before, during, and after their trip. So we've got relationships with the travel suppliers. We've got the ability to step in, and if something goes sideways while you're traveling, we're going to be there to try to fix it. And you can book travel on the internet, but if you get in a jam, the internet's not going to return your phone call. And if you you need something at 2 in the morning, good luck getting somebody on the phone to be responsive if you've booked on Expedia or Travelocity or whatever. So once we explain that to people and they kind of see what our value is, it's really all about the personal service and the personal connection. Um, so we really try to highlight that.
It's funny you said that. I find myself having to explain it often. I was literally at dinner on Wednesday and I was sitting at the bar and I told somebody I was a travel agent and they were like, is that even a thing? And I was like, yes, it's a thing. And they were like, okay, enlighten me. And by the end of the conversation, they were like, can I get your card? And I was like,
Yeah,
yes. And I feel like as part of the reason I started the show is because I feel like we just don't articulate our value well as an industry because everything is so kind of microwave-ish and you can just do any and all things
right.
online. That doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny, like that thing about being at a restaurant or being at a bar. Like I'm a big eat at the bar kind of guy, and so this is like, so if you want to know like what our marketing strategy is, it's usually like starting up conversations with strangers at the hotel bar or the restaurant bar or just the bar on the corner at your neighborhood pub. And it's amazing because we've forged these partnerships with other small business owners. They know what we do. We're regulars at the restaurant around the corner. They'll partner with us on marketing events. They'll refer, like we've been sitting in a restaurant where we know the owners, and uh, the owner at this one particular restaurant in our neighborhood, a couple weeks ago, she was checking in with the table. She overheard them talking about planning a vacation, and she said, you should go talk to those guys at the bar because they're travel advisors, and they'll and they're really awesome, and they planned my trip to the DR. Um, and she's referred us to people, and we've been sitting there having dinner and have new clients like walk up to us because somebody else in the restaurant knows us and points them to us. So it's been
There's one bar here and people are like,
yeah,
why are you always there? Like it's a place where everybody goes for like anniversaries and
yeah,
special
yeah,
occasions. And I'm like, no, I go and sit at the bar because
yeah.
that's where I meet a lot of my clients.
Well, and this is maybe not the best marketing strategy, but there's the bar in our neighborhood, just that's just down on the corner. It's just like the neighborhood pub. They have trivia night every Sunday, and so we always go and we call our trivia team the Huckleberry Travel Team, and not to brag or anything, but we win more often than we don't win. And that turned out to be a really bad marketing strategy because we win so often that nobody else who goes to trivia is ever going to book a trip with us because they're haters. So it's funny.
I love it.
Yeah.
So, in the beginning, what is something that you kind of failed at that you are an absolute like rock star right now?
Oh, well, so I think the first big, I had this really big trip early on, and the great thing about Uniglobe, our host agency, is that they have this mentoring program, which is kind of like the way that they train agents who are coming into the business. So it's very customized, and if you want to focus on a niche or a particular area of travel, they really accommodate that. So and we didn't start off thinking that we had like we were like everybody else who's new, like you take the clients you get, right? And you're grateful to have them, and if they're a pain in the butt, you deal with it and you suck it up, and then slowly, as you get more used to booking things, you get more comfortable telling clients, no, I'm not, that's really not, I'm not the right guy for that. I've actually fired clients now, which is just such a liberating feeling. But early on, I had somebody who was a personal friend of mine who came to me. She had a milestone birthday, and she wanted to plan a trip where it was 3 people for a week in Spain, doing wine tastings in the Rioja region, and then she had 11 people who were all foodies who wanted to do a week in Portugal right after that, and then 7 of them. 7 people in Morocco for a week, and they wanted to get on a camel and go into the desert and stay overnight at a Bedouin camp. And I was like, I don't know if I can do that. But I did it, and it was like, turns out I can. But there were all these people coming and going at different times, and the big mistake that I made is that I didn't just turn the whole thing over to somebody else to put all the pieces together. I did it all piecemeal. I booked every hotel individually. I set up all the tours, the sightseeing as a standalone thing. And then I was the one who tried to integrate all those different moving parts to each other. And it happened. Like, I made it work, but there were some snafus along the way. There was, you know, the Lisbon Marathon happened while they were trying to get to the airport, and so one of their transfers didn't show up. They had to take a cab, almost missed their flight to Morocco. I mean, there were just a lot of things that could have been so much more seamless if I hadn't tried to do it myself. I mean, basically, I was planning travel like a muggle, because I was not in the industry for long enough to know that there are people that you can just call up a destination management company and say to them, this is what my clients want to do, put it all together, make all the pieces fit, and then give it back to me in a nice pretty package with a bow, and I'll turn it over to my client. I did a lot of work, and more work than the commission would have warranted. And so now I've kind of learned, if I've got something that's really, really complicated, that has a lot of moving parts, it's better to turn that over turn it over to one of my vendors, a vendor that I trust, who I know will line it all up, rather than trying to do it piecemeal. And that was a real lesson to learn.
So, since you're talking about vendors, like what vendors do you trust?
Oh, I've got a lot of favorite vendors. We book a lot with G Adventures because they really focus on. If you don't know G Adventures, they're crushingly awesome, but they really have a priority on traveling with a purpose, and we're big on sustainable travel. We charge fees, and part of our fee we use to calculate and pay for a carbon offset for our clients' trips. So, and that's actually been a great way into fees. That's a whole other conversation I could have. But G Adventures shares our goal of sustainable travel, and not just environmentally sustainable, but also socially sustainable, economically sustainable, culturally sustainable. So they have policies that as much money as possible that you spend on their trips has to go back into the local communities that you're visiting. They support development projects for sustainable tourism. So, like in Nepal, they've got a project where they train women who've been rescued from sex trafficking operations to work in the travel and tourism industry. When we traveled with them to Morocco recently, we went to this community restaurant that was also a literacy project where they're training single and divorced women who don't have a lot of employment opportunities in Morocco to training them so that they can get jobs in restaurants and in the tourism industry. They've got, I traveled with them to Peru, and we went to a women's weaving collective. We went to an agricultural project. And it just really, it really helped. I think it's just a really special overlay to any trip. I mean, you can go around the world and see amazing things, but if you're connecting with the local culture and the local people in a way that's meaningful, that really makes a difference, I think. So G Adventures is all about that. Love them. We've got good relationships with a lot of other travel providers too. I mean, I think one of the things that we enjoy most about our relationships that we have through the host agency is that we get so much support from our preferred suppliers within our host agency, and they really have come through time and time again for us. So in Asia, I book a lot with. They used to be called Buffalo Tours. They just changed their name to Discova or Discova. I don't know, but they're really great. They've bent over backwards for me. I've got a family of 6 coming to Costa Rica with a company called Alluring Americas, and they do luxury FIT to Central and South America. They have been amazing to work with some very demanding and difficult clients. They've just been fantastic. So I think they're great as well. Yeah.
You hit on a topic that I think a lot of travel agents or advisors, travel professionals in general are missing is relationships.
Yeah.
And it's truly about building relationships. The whole industry is about building relationships and making sure that the relationship you have with your client and the relationship you have with your vendor all make this perfect little circle so that everybody's winning. And so many people are trying to do everything. Like
Yeah.
I've met a lot of travel professionals who still try to do everything on the internet, and they're not talking to anybody.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
like,
It's that, picking up the phone and calling somebody makes all the difference in the world, and meeting people in person. Like it used to be that back when I was working my day job and balancing the travel business at the same time, I would get emails from suppliers saying, "Hey, we want to come. We'd like to meet with you." And I used to turn those things down, and now that I have more time, I always take those meetings, even if it's a hotel or a hotel and the sales manager is in town, in New York, and wants to meet for coffee. Uh, I'll do it. Sometimes there's free food. Hey, take advantage of that, right? But but it's amazing what a little bit of FaceTime can do to help grease the tracks. And I'll say again too that like a good host agency, not one of these multi-level marketing scams, but a good host agency that's reputable, that really cares about their agents and their advisors. That can just be like a whole network of pre-built relationships that you can tap into right away. And Uniglobe has definitely been that for us. There are plenty of good host agencies out there. Uniglobe is smaller than most, and I feel like when we joined Uniglobe, we went to our first conference. And if you do belong to a host agency, go to their conferences, because that's where you meet the suppliers, that's where you meet the vendors, and that's where you meet other agents too. Because if you're in a host agency or a consortium like Ensemble or Signature, or if you're lucky enough to be in Virtuoso, right? If you're in one of those consortia, there are relationships there too. But in a host agency, you get additional leverage because you've got collective buying power with all the other agents in your host agency, and so you're getting better commissions because you might only book one Regent cruise in your entire career, but you're going to be getting a better commission on that Regent cruise than you would if you were independent, because there are lots of other agencies in your agents in your host agency that are going to that are going to be booking Regent, and that's going to drive your commission up. Those relationships are really important. You get added amenities for your clients, you get preferred pricing for your clients, and you get better commissions for yourself. So and if you're in a jam and you need somebody to grease the tracks for you, they're there to do it.
So what actually pushed you over the top with Uniqlo? Because in my travel agent Facebook group, a lot of people are just, they did research, but they just joined the one that they knew somebody, or they did the research and the one that had the best commission percentage or didn't have a fee. So what was your process to go through Uniqlo?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned earlier, I'm a lawyer. And so I do have which we can talk about on another podcast if you want, but I have a small law practice on the side that I still do just on my own. And most of that has been advising other travel advisors about, areas of risk or liability, because travel industry is a high risk industry. But when I did research for travel agencies or host agencies rather, I really kind of narrowed it down to a couple of agencies that really had good support for people who were new to the industry, that would give us the flexibility to build our business the way that we wanted to. We didn't want to like plug into a cookie cutter business with a cookie cutter website, and we really wanted to be able to do it ourselves. And we wanted a good network of preferred suppliers, but we also didn't want to be penalized unnecessarily if we went outside of that network of preferred suppliers to book. And Uniglobe hit all of those spots for us. What we didn't know at the time is that Uniglobe is actually really selective about who they take. They don't just take anybody. And so while we were vetting them, they were vetting us. And so, but the thing to remember about any host agency, and this is me putting my lawyer hat on for a minute, is that when you sign with a host agency, you're signing a contract with them, and it's really important for you to know what that contract says and what your obligations are. Are you allowed to book with a non-preferred supplier? Are you allowed to terminate your contract and move to a different host agency if you try it out and it's not working for you? And so it's really, I would just recommend anybody who's thinking about getting into the business, I think you should talk to a lawyer who knows the industry before you start your business, but have a lawyer look at your agreement that you're signing with the host agency so that they can explain it to you so that you know exactly what you're signing on to, because there are some scams out there too. And just going with the first one that you find because you think the commissions look good, there are a lot of unknown factors. But go to findahostagency.com, go to Host Agency Reviews. Those are the two websites that have really good information about the different host agencies. And I'll say that most of the host agencies that are highly recommended on those sites are reputable and above board. But they're all different too. They're different in terms of size. They're different in terms of what the commission split is. They're different in terms of who their consortium is that they belong to. They're different in terms of who who their preferred suppliers are, and all of that information makes a difference. And not every agency is right for everybody else. So,
Agreed.
yeah.
So, what are you most excited about in your business and in your life right now?
Gee, wow, that's a lot. So like we had a really good, I mean, this was a really exciting year for 2019, and 2020 is, we've got a lot, I don't know, I've got a lot of harebrained ideas for my business, and David, the other half of Huckleberry Travel, he's got a deep marketing resume. So I think between the two of us, like I've got the crazy ideas and he's got the common sense. So we're talking about a lot of different things that we want to do in 2020, and we're actually starting to book travel into 2021 too, which is pretty exciting. But this year we're hosting a couple of cruises. Ensemble Travel Group, which is our consortium, they have a hosted cruise program, and once you've been in the industry for a couple of years, they'll let you host a cruise. And so we've got a sailing this summer on Holland America in the Mediterranean, and that's going to be something that it's been selling pretty well, and so we're looking forward to that. We're going to be taking our third group to Alaska this year. For the last 3 years, we've had groups, and they keep growing. So last year we had about 45 people in our Alaska group, and I mentioned earlier we don't do a lot of cruises, but we definitely Alaska is kind of the entry point for us. We have a lot of clients who just have this preconceived idea that cruises are cookie cutter and not authentic and immersive. And then, when you talk about Alaska, they'll be like, oh yeah, but I would do an Alaska cruise. And once they get into Alaska and they go on that cruise, they start to realize, oh yeah, this is actually a great way to travel. So we're building on our Alaska groups. I mentioned G Adventures earlier. We had a really great group with G Adventures in the fall, and we're going to try to build on that and do another couple of groups with them. And then we're looking forward into 2021, and we're thinking about chartering a catamaran for the Galapagos in 2021. Still trying to figure out if the pricing is going to work for us to do that, but we've got that going on. And then we're also, because we're really focused on authentic, immersive, destination-focused adventure travel, soft adventure travel. There's an eclipse, a total solar eclipse in December of 2021. And some of our suppliers, like Hertie-Grutten and some of the expedition cruise lines, are planning on taking it's in Antarctica. The eclipse is going to be in Antarctica and like the Falkland Islands and around that area, South Atlantic. So we're looking at making a marketing push to sell eclipse travel, because there's some really phenomenal itineraries out there, and that sort of thing gets us really excited. So
awesome. I love it. I love it. I love it. I'm sitting here like, I want to go on a trip with you guys.
Yeah. Well, we should plan something.
We should.
We'll both take out group space, and you'll get your group and we'll get our group, and we'll all have a big party.
I think I'm actually going to write that down,
okay.
And I'm going to hold you to that, because I think it sounds like so much fun. You have been an awesome guest. You have touched on so many different things that we are definitely going to have to do this again in the new year, which is 2 weeks away. So I'm going to get you on the schedule for next year, because this was such a great conversation. It was so great having you on your show. Thank you so much for doing the interview. And I'm telling you, you can just bet he's going to be on real soon. So where can the audience find you?
So if you want to talk to me at Huckleberry Travel, I'm at Thomas at Huckleberry Travel. That's HUCKLEBERRY Travel, all one word, .com. I also have, my law practice is carpentertaylor.com, and I'm at T Carpenter, TCARPENTER at carpentertaylor.com. And you can find me at either of those places. And on Facebook at Huckleberry Travel, on Twitter at HBerry Travel, and Instagram at Huckleberry Travel. That's where we are.
Awesome. Well, thank you again for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks so much, Lynn. It was really, really fun, and look forward to talking to you again very soon.
Thank you for joining the Travel Agent Podcast. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Visit thetravelagentpodcast.com for more information about today's episode and other travel agent resources. Be sure to tune in every Thursday for new episodes. Until next time, continue to build a travel business you love.